bed, and beside him is his brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. So inshallah you can come with me. Obviously the Sayyid will be giving a lecture followed by Musibah and Latmiya. But inshallah before that we'll have a few moments of commemoration ourselves in honor of Al-Hassan alayhi salam. Close your eyes, lower your heads, close your eyes, lower your heads. Let's go together to the land of Medina and to the moment where Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam is lying on his deathbed, poisoned by his wife Ju'da upon the command of Muawiyah. It is there that they say he was so sick that he threw up a piece of his own liver. And when he did that, he told his brother to hide it quickly. Why? Because Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam was coming inside the house. And he did not want Sayyidah Zainab to see a piece of her brother and her brother in that state. And the speaker usually asks then after that, if Zainab could not bear to see a piece of the liver of Al-Hassan, then how could she bear to see the severed body of Abu Abdullah? How could she bear to see the severed hands of Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam? How could she bear to see the son of Al-Hassan alayhi salam, Al-Qasim, dragged, as I said yesterday, across the floor, across the plains of Karbala, this 8-year-old, by the enemy of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam? It's here that he lies upon his deathbed, and by him is his brother Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Two brothers, God knows how close they were. These two souls who stood, who kneeled upon the back of Rasulullah when he was in prayer. And Al-Hussein alayhi salam is weeping for Imam Al-Hassan alayhi salam before Al-Hassan tells him that there is no day like your day, Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There is no day like your day, Abu Abdullah, because when you die, you will be alone without any helper. When you die, there will be no one there upon the plains of Karbala to heed your call. When you die, you will see the scattered bodies of your children in front of you. You will see your Akbar, you will see the rest of your children, your daughters will be wailing in the tents. You will worry what will happen to your sister Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, and your only protector, Abu Fadl Abbas, will be lying by the river with no hands and his flag fallen. He says, there is no day like yours, so prepare for it, O my brother. I'll give my Qasim away, and you give away your Akbar. He says, there is no day like yours, so prepare for it, my brother. I'll give my Qasim away, and you give away your Akbar. He says, the time has come, O my brother, and calls my soul my Lord. The poison, it strangles my throat and it tugs upon my soul's cord. You're me and I'm you. You're me and I'm you. We are the two prongs of Ali's sword. Today I leave, and broken is the sword of our father. Our love is not the love of brothers. In fact, our soul is one. When my soul departs your bodies, you'll feel that your soul has gone. When my soul departs my body, you'll feel that your soul has gone. Of 12 Imams, there are no brothers. Like us is no one. Our bond is light, and it is the light of our grandfather. Truth is a lonely path, oh my brother, and I've been so alone. It's as if even my skin has run away from my bone. Men have deserted me and put a tyrant on the throne. Khidr looks at me and he wonders who is lonelier. In our youth, on Muhammad's own back, we were positioned. Now Muhammad has been forgotten, and here I am poisoned. Even Noah had a few followers that to him listened, and yet here I am, left abandoned, choking up my liver. I asked to be buried by Muhammad, but know that we'll be blocked off by those that yearn a dead man's blood to flow. You'll see my coffin impaled with arrow after arrow. I tell you, be gentle when taking them out, because you may see my bones shatter. When you see my coffin impaled with an arrow after an arrow, I tell you, be gentle when taking them out, because you may see our bones shatter, because you may see my bones shatter. And tell our Abbas, when he sees all of this, to keep his sword sheathed, because the last breath that you breathe will not be like the last breath that I breathed. The last breath that you breathe, O Hussein, will not be like the last breath that I've breathed. A day will come when our Abbas must keep his sword unsheathed. A day will come when our Abbas must keep his sword unsheathed, and it will come with your daughters crying out, "Oh Abbas, please bring us water. It may be that you weep over me, as on death I lay. But know, my brother, that there is no day like your day. My soul may leave, and it may brush your hair, turning it grey, but when your soul leaves, it will take with it the soul of your daughter. It may be that when I leave, your back will be broken. Dare I ask that when Abbas falls to that back, what will happen? Dare I ask that when Abbas falls to that back, what will happen? It may be that when I die, my hands upon yours will tighten. But when Abbas dies, with what hands will he hold yours, I wonder? It may be that Jadda killed me, whom Allah will never forgive. But at least I won't see my wife and daughters taken as captives. Hussein, it may be that our sister after you shall live, but from all the ash we won't recognize our own sister. It may be that my soul through my neck it shall be leaving, but how will yours leave your neck when from it blood is gushing? He says, it may be that my soul through my neck it shall be leaving, but how will yours leave your neck when from it blood is gushing? If it waits for the bleeding to end, how long will it be waiting? And if it sees that you have no head, it will weep forever. Oh my beloved, know that transcends time does our brotherhood. He says, oh my beloved, know that transcends time does our brotherhood. You'll stand alone in Taf, just like in Mada'in I stood. I would be there, side by side with you, if only I could. We'll stand back against thousands with our flag bearer, but I can't be there. So I've left you my son instead. If my son's blood bleeds, it will be as if my own blood has bled. The sand that he walks on will be as if on it I have tread. You'll have no Hassan, but of me I have left a mirror. Because no father reaches his end, for his son grows up just like him. You'll have Ali al-Akbar, my brother, and I'll have my Qasim. Brother, make sure you look after him, my most cherished gem. When he wants to go toward the battle, give him his armor. When he hears your daughters crying, give my Qasim my turban. Because the sons of Hassan are honored to die for your children. Don't see him as a child, for I see him as a lion, defending the cubs of Hussein as a courageous soldier. But my brother, if he is struck, then run out toward his body. My brother, if he is struck, then run out toward his body, because the swords will chew him up and they will tear away my son's beauty. When you carry my son Qasim, that's if his body you can carry, I'll be holding him too, and we'll take him to his mother. He says, brother, when you see your Akbar fall, and you fall, know that I fell, seeing my Qasim struck upon his head. He was so small. Across the desert, the small body of my son, they'd haul. Don't think that because I died, I won't look on in horror. I'm dying, but how lucky I am that you are here. You'll call out for help, and no help will appear. My head won't be cut, nor will my head be raised upon a spear. I may give away Qasim, but you'll give away your Asghar. I may give away Qasim, but you'll give away Asghar. He says, there is no day like your day, so prepare for it, my brother. I'll give away my Qasim, and you'll give away your Akbar. I'll give away my Qasim, and you'll give away your Akbar. We send our peace and blessings upon Al-Hassan Islam. Assalamu alaikum ya Mawlai, ya Hassan al-Mujtaba. Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah, wa al-arwah allati halat bifinaik. Alayka minni salam Allah. Abadan ma baqitu baqiya al-layl wa an-nahar. Assalamu ala al-Husayn, wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn, wa ala awlad al-Husayn, wa ala ashab al-Husayn jami'an. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you. Beautiful remembrance. And when you close your eyes, you can actually picture it in your mind the tragedy that took place. So welcome to our final night
Barakallah
of
feek. Jazakallah.
learning and hikmah at the Islamic House of Wisdom. We've gathered here in the past few nights to learn about the days who has, for the most part, been understudied.
In the most critical times within Islamic history. Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, the circumstances that revolve around his martyrdom are very much understudied. When we take a glimpse at the pages of history regarding the shahada of the elder brother of Imam al-Hussein, we see that it is riddled with betrayal, backstab, tragedy, moments of feud, discord, hatred, enmity, and sheer apostasy when going against the Imam of your time. Of course, this in the small micro level within the house of the Imam and the macro level within the entire Ummah, we find moments of betrayal. Definitely the amount of jealousy fueled by hatred and enmity from the establishment spearheaded by Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan was a major catalyst leading to the martyrdom of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. However, the bullet to that gun was his wife, as we all understand it to be, Ju'da bint al-Ash'ath ibn Qais al-Kindi. The details about this event, brothers and sisters, start in the life of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, a man by the name of al-Ash'ath. His daughter married Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. When looking at the reasons why, many fall short from simply because the Imam got married to her as it was his interest. But when we study the circumstances and the presuppositions, the Kinda tribe is a very influential tribe, and they had a major enmity towards Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. In similitude to the marriages of Rasulullah, many of them were necessary from a peacemaking standpoint. And the condition doesn't have to be love in certain cases, but this could be a sacrifice that I am willing to bring about an individual in my own household that I know for a fact will lead to my own demise. So Ju'da seems, according to many of these presumptions, similar in that case, because Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais al-Kindi was selected to become the scholar that deals with the arbitration that went on when they raised the Qara'een and the Quran on spears, and they said, let the Quran judge between us, no more fighting. They dispatched Al-Ash'ath to represent Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib and Amr ibn al-As to represent Muawiyah. And of course, this fell short and was not successful. Definitely Al-Ash'ath, we also realize he played a significant role in the killing of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, because Muawiyah had dispatched over 60,000 dinar to Kufa in the house of Al-Ash'ath to give to Abdul Rahman bin Muljim. So he was that wire transition medium for Abdul Rahman bin Muljim to kill Imam Ali. So Al-Ash'ath, in his hands, the blood of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. He has a son, so Ju'da's brother. His son goes by the name of Muhammad. He participated in the killing of Imam al-Hussein later on in Karbala. And he has this daughter, Ju'da bint al-Ash'ath, who participated in the killing of Imam al-Hassan. So it's a family, a shajara khabitha. It's a horrible family tree. But of course, this was the only means to get rid of Imam al-Mujtaba. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan was bound by contract that was leveled against him by Imam al-Hassan. He had to follow these terms. And among the terms was, if Imam al-Mujtaba is no longer around, then the leadership transitions to Imam al-Hussein. It would be counterintuitive, technically speaking, for Muawiyah to get rid of Imam al-Hassan, because he's not going to attain any sort of power. His power, while he is alive, has to immediately transition. So why would Muawiyah, according to our narrative, be responsible for the killing of Imam al-Mujtaba? Oh, he doesn't even care about an agreement. What deal? What peace treaty? What sulh? The moment he did this, Amr ibn al-As saw it, and he looked at Muawiyah. Muawiyah looked back at him. He's like, give me the treaty. And he places it right under his feet. And he says, this is tahta qadamay, what I made with him, only to calm the atmosphere. Because Imam al-Hassan, as we've spoken about in the previous nights, didn't care if he was outnumbered. He had 12,000 of his father's soldiers, and he still marched forth. But the betrayal from these soldiers compelled Imam al-Hassan to make this agreement. So in order to calm the joe and the atmosphere, you have to publicly make it seem like you are now best friends. Sulh, make that islah. Anything that's broken, we say it needs to become repaired through the means of islah, to sallih. فَاصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. So this was the term that was spreading, that these guys are not so bad. When they come together, they're in good terms. This was for the public eye. Deep down inside, the man couldn't care less about these terms. So it was in his interest to get rid of Al-Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, especially after Imam al-Hassan constantly humiliated Muawiyah and his henchmen. There was a moment, a very famous, a rather humorous moment actually, when we examine in history, where the lot of these people, they come to the city of Medina from Sham. Muawiyah says, this Hassan, it's been years since we've made the deal, and his popularity is rising, while my dislike is increasing alongside him in proportion. The more people love him, the more people despise me. And so we need to gather in an assembly. Ya Amr ibn al-As, what say you if I go and meet with him in Medina on our way to Umrah, and you level hurdles of insults at his direction? But the thing is, I'm going to bring Yazid, and Yazid will do the same thing. My son Yazid, Imam Hassan met with Yazid. And I will also bring my uncle, Utbah, my brother rather, Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, because Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, he has a brother named Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan. And we bring, you know the Khalifa, Uthman ibn Affan, his son, Amr ibn Uthman. And you remember Uthman's cousin, Walid ibn Utbah? We'll bring him as well. Gather all of us in a room and just a match of insults against Hassan al-Zaki. Let him feel humbled that he does not think he can just get ahead with popularity above us. Let him be put in his place. So they gather. And by the way, this was one of many times where Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam had to meet with Muawiyah, coerced. Imagine if the tyrant of let's say if you go back 50 years ago, a tyrant in some Middle Eastern country forces you to have a meeting with them. Well, you can say no. No, you can't. How about if a tyrant forces you to marry your daughter to them? These are things sometimes you can't say no. Because when people ask in Islamic history, why do I see a good man married to such a crazy family? Or I see a crazy family married into such a wonderful household. Sometimes if you just read history without any presuppositions, I would never, you have to read it with the context of this was a ruler, an establishment. Like imagine a dictator who has thousands of soldiers and he says, I want to marry from your household. It's not easy to say no. It's difficult. And in the example of this is the example of Asiya bint Muzahim and Fir'aun. She lives with a man who literally calls himself Allah, Ana Rabbukumul A'la, but she has to be patient while she believes in the Lord of Harun and Musa. And so in this situation, we see this happen many times. For those who bring alarming questions, why would Imam Ali, when we read in history, even if these ruwayat tasah, or they are refused or accepted, we read sometimes that there were hukam that married from the household of the Ahlul Bayt. We can look at Imam al-Jawad, just a brief tangent, and his wife al-Fadl, the daughter of whom Al-Ma'mun al-Abbasi. We can even look at Imam al-Mujtaba. So this explains that phenomenon. In any case, they meet in the city of Medina. Remember this lot, 5 of the ugliest people you will ever see, probably physically as well. And they sit with Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. And Amr ibn al-As says, Ya Muawiyah, this is not a moment I'm confident with. He is the son of the man known as Sayyidul Balagha. Works are written called Nahjul Balagha. You think he's going to be coerced by our words? Words just ricochet off him like arrows bounce off of metal armor. And Imam Hassan, before he entered that assembly, he read a dua. Anytime you are to meet someone who is ruthless and abrasive, malign and malicious in their intention, read dua. It's not that hard. Say, Ya Allah, protect me from their efforts, from their intention, Ya Rabbil Alamin. The dua is there. Look up dua Imam Hassan in the Ihtijajat with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, with the debates with Muawiyah. It's a beautiful supplication. Any zalim you are expected to meet, recite that dua. I remember there was watching a YouTube lecture about this debate between Imam al-Hassan and these people. I remember the speaker also mentioned, and when there was a lady, she came up to him and she said, when I was going to get a divorce, I had to meet my husband one more time. I read the dua before I met him again. This guy's an oppressor. I have to make sure that I read the dua Imam Hassan that he read against Muawiyah. And he has, all these people with my going to be ex-husband. Maybe not to that degree, but to an extent where you expect to see an oppressor on this earth and you're kind of coerced to see them. This is a beautiful dua. Read, look up, and even you can find it in English, by the way. Dua of Imam Hassan upon his meeting with Muawiyah and his henchmen, basically. And I believe it's even on du'as.org, but it's definitely found within the material of the ihtijajat and so forth regarding Imam al-Mujtaba and his debates. Nonetheless, he reads this beautiful dua, beseeches Allah to grant him ease during a moment of difficulty. He enters the room. Amr ibn al-As was hesitant to begin with. He looks at him, but he gives it his shot. He says, may Allah condemn you and your father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Nothing but trouble from you guys. No matter how hard we try to be prosperous in this ummah, it's either your dad, and then Allah took him away from us, and then you step in the game. Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam refuted his replies, and he looked at him, and he used and invoked a principle that Allah has allowed us to utilize whenever we are placed in a situation where an individual becomes arrogant upon you. Al-takabbur ala al-mutakabbir ibadah. To be almost arrogant in the face of an arrogant individual is a form of worship. Why? You have to put them in their place. Sometimes, not necessarily all the times, but if a person doesn't get disciplined for their disassociation from Allah and all forms of principles that are considered worldly, humane principles, you have to put them in their place. And so this man can't just walk away with this. He looks at him, he says, Ya sha'in, ya la'in wa ya abtar. You talk to me that way and insult my father. It was none other than your acclaimed father. Though the Quran refuted, he had no descendants properly. and you call yourself Amr ibn al-As. Let me remind you about al-As ibn Wa'il. The shortest surah in the Quran, little kids will remember it. It begins like this: Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. And do you not know what the tafsir of that is? Let me enlighten you. Your supposed father Al-As ibn Wa'il came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and he said to him, Anta abtar, and he began to laugh. You don't have a lineage. And he began to mock Rasulullah. That moment Allah revealed this verse: we have given him a great abundant lineage, and so for it sacrifice animals and feed it to the poor. Wanhar inna shani'aka, the one who is a sha'in that is insulting you, he is the one who will have a severed lineage. So where did you come from, Ya Amr ibn al-As, if Allah promised you don't have? And if I remind you, you were selected in a draw where multiple people claim to be your father, and they happen to pull out the name, as you do when you want to figure out who your father is these days. They pulled out the name Amr ibn al-As because Abu Sufyan claimed to be your father. Many individuals also claim, so how about you keep it quiet? Ya Sha'in, using the Quranic words, Ya La'in wa Ya Abtar. He immediately melted back like this. You see, sometimes when a person gets verbally destroyed, they don't have anything to say, they just want to melt away. He immediately melted back like that. Then steps in Amr ibn Uthman. Amr ibn Uthman, Uthman ibn Affan has a son. Amr ibn Uthman looked at him and he says, you know, it was your father who was responsible for killing my dad. Did you know that? Because in the circumstances leading to the death of the third Khalifa, his house was besieged and attacked by the people of Medina. As a result, they blamed Amir al-Mu'mineen for it. And Imam Ali knows he's going to get blamed. So you know what he does in advance? He dispatches Imam Hassan and Hussein to guard the house of Uthman. No one has the right to say, I did it because I sent these two, my own eyes, to defend his door. So if you're going to use that excuse, what do you say about that? Even though he did that, they still blamed Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. You know, your dad killed my dad. And for that, Allah will never forgive him. He's like, who are you again? I don't really know you that well. You know, you remind me of the mosquito that falls on a palm tree. And then the mosquito looks at the palm tree before it wants to fly away, and it says, oh palm tree, I'm going to go away. To which the palm tree looks at the mosquito and it says, I never knew you were even on me. Get the heck out of here. You are so insignificant. You're like an insect to me, Ya Amr ibn Uthman. Go, shoo away. The man also wanted to melt away. Then you had Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan that stepped in. You think you can just make a deal with my brother Muawiyah that way? How about I remind you about the amount of hatred your father had to Islam? It's always against Imam Hassan's father. Of course, the sunnah of doing la'an, astaghfirullah, and sab, and insulting Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen began by these people, Utbah, Muawiyah, and this exact lot. You and your family, you people, may I remind you, أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. May I remind you how much your father hated the ummah of Rasulullah. To which the Imam replied, instead of concerning yourself with me, there was an individual you caught with your spouse the other day, go concern yourself with him. You have problems within your own house, go over there. And this might come across as very volatile, but again, al-takabbur ala al-mutakabbari ibadah. And in that situation, the Imam humbled him. He never once opened his mouth after that. Yazid ibn Muawiyah stepped in. And he says, you know, ana mundu an kunt. Since I was around, I've always hated you and I never liked you. Imam al-Hassan said, I'm not surprised. Have you read the Quran? Silence. What would you expect? He said, let me enlighten you about an ayah of the Holy Quran that goes, وَشَارِكْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ. In the Quran, Allah talks about Imam Hassan. He's given us an entire tafsir, subhanAllah. He says, Allah says that the shaitan has a role in two cases. With money, of course, he can make you be stingy, make you not give to sadaqah, make you steal, and with your children. With regards to money, it's simple. But with regards to children, this is in reference to when shaitan got involved in the consummation of when you were going to be birthed, and he was there in that process. As a result, you are the result of your mother, Muawiyah, and shaitan. I'm not too surprised if those who come from shaitan despise me, and I who come from the pure of pure progeny loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instantly silenced. Then you had Walid ibn Utbah comes forth. Walid ibn Utbah, he steps in. He was once the former Imam Jama'ah of Masjid al-Kufa, and he sees Imam al-Mujtaba, And he looks at him and he says, not only are you despised by me, but I'm raising my family to hate you as well. And may Allah condemn you. Imam Al-Hassan said, I'm not surprised you despise me that way and you're telling your family to hate me. Do you remember the 80 lashes my father gave you, Ya Walid? Walid instantly forgotten that there was a moment, he remembered there was a moment when he was leading Salah in Masjid al-Kufa, he led it drunk. And when he led the Salah drunk, they came to Uthman and they said, Ya Uthman, the qisas and the ahkam with regards to a drunk person is that they have to be punished with whips in this situation. These were the circumstances at the time, and that's how you deal with that case. Are you not going to do it? Because he was cousins to the Khalifa, he says, no, it's my cousin, I can't do that to him. He made a mistake, inshallah Allah forgives him. He's like, no, but the hukum right here, it involves him getting physically disciplined. He's like, no, who stepped in to discipline this man? Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen. In that situation, he asked him, did you remember or did you forget the 80 lashes my father gave you? I wouldn't be too surprised if you despise me. This absolutely humiliated the establishment. And by the way, this was the secretary cabinet of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Who else but his brother, Amr ibn al-As, his son, his heir, successor. This was the entire ministry. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. الثاني غفر الله لكم. الثالث على حب الحسين بأعلى أصواتكم. I recall last time we discussed how when Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam was presented to his mother Sayyida Zahra after having learned the ayat from Rasulullah in the masjid, Lady Zahra alayhi salam would then tell Imam al-Hassan, tell me what you remember from Rasulullah and the ayat al-Qur'aniyya. To which the Imam, upon that day, Amir al-Mu'mineen was present, his father, and so then he said, Ya Ummah, قل بياني وكل لساني لعل سيدا يرعاني. So today I say, Ya Ummah, قل بياني وكل لساني. Samahat al-Sayyid and Samahat al-Sheikh, their presence here is absolutely the knowledge we need to go for. So may Allah bless them, inshallah ta'ala. In any case, the Imam absolutely humiliated that situation and this establishment. Whether it was Utbah ibn Abi Sufyan, Amr ibn al-As, Yazid ibn Muawiyah, Walid ibn Utbah, all of these individuals were humiliated. This led to Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam becoming public enemy number one. From him insulting that establishment, even the sulh of Imam al-Mujtaba was not being held properly. Yes, the condemnation and la'an towards Amir al-Mu'mineen halted. The killing of the Sahaba, the Shia, halted as well. As soon as the Imam left this world, we find the killing re-emerge. Hujr bin Adi al-Kindi died in the year 51 after Hijrah. Imam al-Mujtaba died in the year 50. This agreement with Muawiyah literally preserved the Shia presence at the time, brothers and sisters. And it was caving in on Abi Sufyan from how much he is humiliating them, from how much people are loving Ahlul Bayt. He thought the sulh would be in his favor. By Allah, they realized it wasn't. So then they had to do something about this. And this was part of the siyasa that we noticed from the family of Abu Sufyan. If they ever despised someone, they would send some poison their direction. Indeed, it was none other than Abdul Rahman, the son of Abi Bakr, who was poisoned by Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Indeed, it was none other than Abdul Rahman, son of Khalid ibn Walid, poisoned by Muawiyah. They said to him, who do you feel, Muawiyah would say to his people, who do you feel is the most qualified to be the Khalifa after me? And so the doctor would say, I believe Khalid ibn Walid's son would be more qualified than anyone else. He had the doctor poison him. A threat? Anyone who stands in the way as an obstacle from Yazid ibn Muawiyah is a threat. So he dispatched and killed multiple. Malik al-Ashtar he killed. This was something common, the sunnah of their practice. In that situation, he says, we have to get rid of Al-Hassan. How? How would we do that? Imam al-Mujtaba, all of society loves him, except this group from the greater Levant of Sham. So him, with his advisor, Marwan ibn al-Hakam, they concocted the plot. The Byzantium Empire, they are known to make the most potent, severe poison you will ever find. And we need a supply from them. I have the poison. How do I get it into the house of Imam al-Mujtaba? How is that possible? Marwan ibn al-Hakam said, you know, Al-Ash'ath ibn Qais al-Kindi, his daughter is pretty much on our side. Her father was on our side, responsible for the death of Amir al-Mu'mineen. His son, Muhammad, later on would be responsible for the killing of Imam al-Hussein, salamullahi alayh, and Muslim ibn Aqil in Kufa. But his daughter, Ju'da, her marriage is with Hassan, but her heart is with us. Allow her, but you have to bribe her. With what? Number one, give her approximately 100,000 dirham. Ya subhanallah, the life of Imam al-Mujtaba in their eyes is worth 100,000 dirham. And give her a promise that if she marries Hassan, with Hassan is the akhirah, but with Yazid, your son, is the dunya. And of course, they are so black-minded and brainwashed, dunya and akhirah in their mindset. Promise her that. And so they dispatched a letter to the city of Medina with this man, Marwan ibn al-Hakam. He then met up with Ju'da bint al-Ash'ath, and he asked her, if you do the following for us, for you 100,000. We will postpone your marriage for Yazid until after you finish. And she said, if that's all it takes, easy. Then came the 7th of Safar. On that day, Imam al-Mujtaba, a hadith mentioned it was a hot day. Imam al-Mujtaba was fasting, salamullahi alayh, and she came and approached him. They already didn't have a good relationship. It was already difficult. She approached him. Many ahadith say it was either a meal that involved milk or grapes. Nonetheless, she had that meal poisoned. Many of us, we break our iftar with the best of meals. Come and look at your imam and how he broke his iftar. She laid that poison against the imam, backstabbed by the ummah, backstabbed in his own home, gharib in the ummah and gharib in his own bayt, ya mu'mineen. She had that poison happen, instantly the imam consumed it. Now, a brief observation. Would the imam consume this, him knowing it's poisonous and will kill him, do it deliberately, or does he not know? This is the same example with Nabi Ibrahim and Ismail. One knows the other has to die, and he continues to do it, because Sha Allah and yuqtal. That Allah has made the promise, he is going to die this way, this individual. And so he has to fulfill what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. And so he says, oh my father, if that's the case, if'al ma tu'mar, do what you want. Ahlul Bayt know their taklif is shar'i, and their obligation is that they have to go with poison here. And so this is part of their sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. It's not easy, but it's still a sacrifice. And so she makes that happen. The imam knows his wajib here is that he has to give his life to Allah in this way. He takes from that. As soon as he takes it, he says the lines, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Walhamdulillah alladhi. Walhamdulillah ala liqa'i Muhammadin Sayyid al-Wasiyyin. Wa ala abi Amir al-Mu'mineen Sayyid al-Mursaleen. Wa ala Sayyid al-Wasiyyin. Wa ala Muhammadin Sayyid al-Nabiyyin. Wa ala ummi Sayyidati Nisa al-Alameen. He then looks at her and he says, Ya aduwat Allah, qataltini, qatalakillah. O enemy of Allah, you are now the one responsible for my death. May Allah take you away. And alhamdulillah, for I will now see my grandfather Rasulullah, and my father Amir al-Mu'mineen, and my mother Lady Zahra. She then looks at him with a stern face. She leaves the home. He then immediately in that situation feels the pangs of death coming his direction. As that happens, O believers, soon thereafter, his brother Imam al-Hussein enters the room. When Imam al-Hussein entered the room upon his brother Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he saw the Imam was coughing some blood into a bowl next to him. When Imam al-Hussein saw this, he looked towards his brother and said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. My beloved brother Hassan, who did this to you? Imam al-Mujtaba said to him, this will be the concern of Allah, for now I feel the last moments coming, my beloved Hussein. Imam al-Mujtaba said to Imam al-Hussein, come near, do not worry about my moment. Aba Abdullah began to cry. He said, do not cry about my moment. فلا يوم كيومك يا أبا عبد الله يزدلف إليك 30,000. There will be 30,000 who will march your direction, and there is no day like your day, Ya Hussein. And then he began to will to him the final requests. In that moment, Imam al-Mujtaba said to Aba Abdullah, cover the ball. Imam al-Hussein said, why? He says, I hear Lady Zainab coming. I do not want her to see me in this state. Lady Zainab comes to the room. Then Imam al-Mujtaba asks, bring me my brother Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. He then comes and he says to him, Ya Muhammad ibn Ali, you are now going to follow the next Imam. Aba Abdullah is the Imam after me. Take upon him whatever he wants. Fulfill his orders and be obedient to him in the way of Allah. Muhammad then said, how I wish what you have came to me. In that situation, Aba al-Fadl comes in, Lady Zainab and the family of Imam Hassan. He gives them all final words. One of the companions by the name of Junada ibn Abi Umayyah from the companions of Imam al-Mujtaba comes in. He says to him, Idni ibn Rasulillah, give me some words of advice before you go. He says to him, O Junada, understand the dunya is in two parts, one with the ajr and one with the hisab. With the ajr, Allah will ask you, and with the sayyi'at, Allah will bring the hisab. Remember that this life is only a place of temporary abode. You will go to the akhirah and see the reality for what it is. Then in that situation, Ya mu'mineen, Imam al-Mujtaba then says to Aba Abdullah, I have my will to give to you. He says the following, هذا ما أوصى به الحسن بن علي إلى أخيه الحسين أنه يشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. That I testify there is no God but Allah, and no partners associated to him, and that my grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi is the last and final messenger. He tells Aba Abdullah, take me to the courtyard of the house. He brings the Imam to the courtyard. He says, I want to worship Allah under the sky. He raises his head to the samawat as he's laying down, my mu'mineen. He then relaxes for some moments. Imam al-Mujtaba alayhi salam begins to sweat over his brow. He then begins to extend his feet, and at that time Imam al-Hassan's soul has departed this world. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Imam al-Hussein then carries the body of Imam al-Hassan. He washes it and shrouds it. He then takes him to the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. When he goes there, Marwan ibn al-Hakam and Al Bani Umayyah, they stop him and they begin to rain arrows at the Imam, and she comes out and says, Nahubnukum an bayti, take your son from my house, I do not like him. Then they take the Imam to Jannat al-Baqi' and they bury him there. Brothers and sisters, the Sha'ir says it beautifully. Aba Abdullah talks to the Imam after he is buried and he says, is it fair that I have a dome over my grave and you have nothing but a rock over yours? Is it fair that the Zuwar come to me in millions, but when they come to you, they say, go away, you can't stand here long. Today, millions will go to Karbala. How many will go to Jannat al-Baqi'? And when they stay by your grave, they move them to the side. Then the Sha'ir says, Imam al-Mujtaba would reply back, it's fair, because was it fair that I died poisoned, but you died without your family? Is it fair that I died with you, but who died near you? Ya Aba Abdullah, inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. فرج عنا يا الله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم 10 times. Brothers and sisters, Ya Allah, 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 Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you on behalf of the one buried in Jannat al-Baqi' to grant us his ziyarah, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, we ask you on behalf of Kareem Ahl al-Bayt to grant us his shafa'ah in the akhirah, Ya Allah. Brothers and sisters, many have requested today's the shahada of Imam al-Mujtaba. Do not forget them from our du'as. The names are too much. I cannot mention all of them, subhanAllah. Many from here, from outside of America, who've requested, do not forget our sick ones from your du'as. Let us recite the ayat 5 times, لِكَشْفِ الْهُمُومِ, and the shifa of all the marda. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All together. Amma yujibul mudtarra idha da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. Amma yujibul المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعا ويكشف السوء. اللهم اكشف السوء والبلاء عنا يا الله. اللهم المرضى المنظورين شافي وعافهم يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج. اللهم اقضي حوائجنا، فرج عنا، اقضي ديوننا. اللهم لا تبعد بيننا وبين الحسين طرفة عين أبدا في الدنيا والآخرة. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات, for all those who have passed, the ulama and the shuhada, رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. But before it, the loudest of your salawat. اللهم صل على بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن
لنا تسبيح وهم لنا عباد حبنا إيمان بغضنا كفر نحن وسيلة السعادة بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي وأمي بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي أنت وأمي بأبي أنت يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن علي يا مولاي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن سمعني يا حسن بن علي يا مولاي تذكرت مصابه وانا بالخرابه ما نسيت ابو محمد اخوي ابو محمد اخوي قصتي كل من سمعها يبكي من عنوانها والخرابه من سمعتها تفطرت حيطانها ابد مو سهله بواجي الفاقد اخوانها ابد مو سهله بواجي الفاقد اخوانها العدها مثل اخواني موته خلت حاضره جفانها خلت حاضره جفانها واليسر تركته الحسن من ذكرته واليسر تركته الحسن من ذكرته ودم بجيته ابو محمد اخوي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن يا حسن جاوبني يا مولاي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن يا حسن بن علي يا الموت لا ما تحزنه والحزن ما يعتك ضيعت مثلي اخوها حقها بالهم تغرق الموت لا ما تحزنه والحزن ما يعتك ضيعت مثلي اخوها حقها بالهم تغرق رغم ذني حبال دي ورغم متني الازرق رغم ذني حبال دي ورغم متني الازرق الحسن مني مور مصابه يا هالوادم اشهق يا هالوادم اشهق شهقت الشماته شاهدت خواته شهقت الشماته شاهدت خواته من خيته ابو محمد اخوي ابو محمد اخوي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن ليش ما جاوب يا حسن بن علي يا مولاي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن علي يا حسن بن علي يا مولاي للحسن ونيت ويلي الشمس مهوبيه للحسن ونيت واهلي الشمس مهوبيه وقفوا بباب الخرابه يبوعون علي وقفوا بباب الخرابه يبوعون علي بس جن النوح قالوا بس جن النوح قالوا كافيه المسبيه اللي يبكي يوم اثنين خوي اللي يبكي مو يومية اللي يبكي مو يومية للحارس شيكوني وبالعجل اجوني ويمي ريته ابو محمد اخوي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا من البواجي على اخوتي تشتعل جمراتي، من البواجي على اخوتي تشتعل جمراتي، ذاكرة جرحي الكبير حكاياتي، الرافق حكاياتي. للحسن سويت مأتم رغم كل مأساتي، للحسن سويت مأتم رغم كل مأساتي، وبثوابه عاليتامى وزعت دمعاتي، وزعت دمعاتي. للحسن ثوابي دمعتي وانصابي، وما وفيته ابو محمد اخوي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا مثل ما لحسين ابكي حزن كاسر ظهري، مثل ما لحسين ابكي حزن كاسر ظهري. الحسن نفس الشي احسه هم تارس صدري، الحسن نفس الشي احسه هم تارس صدري. وحق جبد اللي تقطع ابقى وين كل عمري، وحق جبد اللي تقطع ابقى وين كل عمري. ما ابطل النوح ابدا حتى وانا بقبري، حتى وانا بقبري. والخرابة تشهد من البكي حيل انهد، والخرابة تشهد من البكي حيل انهد. الخد سقيته ابو محمد اخوي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا مولاي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا مولاي. عفت عيني لحظة واحدة وبالحلم كان شفته، ما عرفني حقه هو لكن أنا عرفته، لكن أنا عرفته. قلت له هيجي يصير بيها كل من يعوف اخته، قلت له هيجي يصير بيها كل من يعوف اخته. لا تروحي وياي وبقى وبالدمع حلفته، لا تروحي وياي وبقى وبالدمع حلفته. قلت لو الأميرة أصبحت أسيرة، قلت لو الأميرة أصبحت أسيرة، وما لقيته أبو محمد أخوي أبو محمد. يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا مولاي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا حسن ابن علي يا مولاي يا الله. اللهم بحق مولاي بحق مولاي الحسن المجتبى لا تحرمنا من الخدمة المولى على المولى بعبد الله الحسين يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج، اجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه وتحت لواء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه جميعا في هذه وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعوا فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات ومن مات على ولاية أمير المؤمنين اهدي لهم جميعا ثواب السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات.